Zero to hero, going to the top. Papa Tops, Bentleys, mansions, looking fly. I'm gonna be a cryptonaire. Everywhere I go, people will stop and stare. Now I ask you, could this be your time? Do you wanna be a cryptonaire for the rest of your life? Cryptonaires.
Life becomes so amazing because you realize that all the rules in life can be rewritten. All the systems around us were built by people no smarter than us. Everything that we have, we inherited. And we inherited from people who had significantly less than we do in terms of technology and information and so forth. So there's really no reason our lives should be governed this way and controlled this way. So the primary motivation is saying, how much can we change the system?
This is just like the internet in 1980s.
The Libra moment, at the very least, really forced people to grapple with the incoming future of financial technology and the fact that there are growing capabilities to create different kinds of market infrastructures that allow for new ways to view not just how we move money, but to redefine what money is.
It's exciting. I think a lot of real-world projects are now wanting to come to list. When I say real-world, like boring existing companies, not crypto companies, that now want to have tokens. Boring bank or a boring property development company that people have heard of, that are publicly listed companies, come and say, we want to list our utility token, and we're now going to start to offer these to our clients, and we'd like to list with you because you're a clean, regulated exchange.
I think one of the my vision is that cryptocurrency can be both a good store of value and a means of exchange, right? So I think Litecoin can do both very well.
I don't think most people, I think people in Congress get it wrong. They don't understand this space. Most people are really just, they believe they understand the technology. They're not looking for anonymous ways to like get out of of trying to avoid things. I think most people genuinely want to just simply have an easy, frictionless experience that allows them to spend wherever they want to spend.
I want you to think about Bitcoin not as some sort of illicit drug money or thing to have undermarket anti-tax, anti-government things, but imagine it as a mainstream system. And this is where it'll go in time. Imagine being able to just pay small cash amounts, browsing on the internet, having privacy in small amounts, but also being able to register your cash.
I think it has the power to really change our society. Right. One thing I keep talking about, like internet brought about freedom of information. I think cryptocurrency will bring about freedom of money. We've never really had like freedom of money before. The government's always been able to tell you what you can or cannot do with money. I think that needs to change, and I think cryptocurrency can help with that.
Is going to be the gold rush of the 1800s in America, where now the community is rushing in. We're building the towns.
All the world's money will move to digital form and transactions. Three things. The first, get into this fantastic market. The second, learn to use this innovative technology. And third, buy and hold your coins. That's the secret.
When a person's inspired, they will move mountains. They will change the entire world. Every revolution, every great thing we have in life has come from people who decided to sacrifice something and believe in something bigger than themselves and go and chase that.
You know, when the lights went on for me, I went, oh my gosh, this feels like 1995 all over again.
First discovered blockchain through Bitcoin, like most people did, in early 2013 when I went to the first Bitcoin Foundation conference. One of our divisions is a PR firm, so I've done technology PR since the early 1990s. My first company, which I sold in 1999, or sorry, 2000, was one of the top global companies that did technology during the dot-com era. So we launched Motley Fool, we launched Earthlink, we also worked with some bigger companies like TIAC and Konami, and you know, I found that I was good at storytelling and being able to learn about technology early and explain it to media, and seemed like a good thing for a writer to be able to do rather than trying to write the great American novel, which, who knows, maybe someday I'll do that too.
The beginning of the web. I mean, I remember it was January 1995, the Consumer Electronics Show, and I had been on the internet I had been online since 1980.
Yeah.
I bought a TRS-80 Model 1 with 4K of RAM. I was 14 years old and I just loved computers, and I was dialing in the BBSs that year in 1980. And so technically I've been online. I'm in my 40th year of being online. So I knew this whole online world, but I discovered HTML and the World Wide Web in 1995, and I went, this is cool. And I jumped on it. And so when I went down the crypto rabbit hole in early 2017, I said, deja vu. This feels like that in every respect. And this is going to revolutionize the world of payments and transactions, contracts, and data, and storage, and every vertical that is impacted by those, which is pretty much everything, right?
Money has been evolving since its inception, and to hyper simplify it, we started with a bartering system. Here's my corn for your sheep. And then we evolved into some scarce, precious asset that we all agreed upon that was precious. Let's just say it's gold, silver, and copper. We took that gold, we put it in the bank and said, here's this paper dollar that's represented via your gold in the bank. We got rid of the gold in the bank and we said, here's your physical dollar, your fiat dollar, which is represented by the promise of the government. They call them promissory notes, which effectively is it's promised by the government's military that this will maintain its power. And then from there, we've evolved to a check system, to credit cards, to Apple Pay, to Venmo, PayPal. And so the question I ask is, if money was to go fully digital, will it ever go back?
It was very unclear back then what the trajectory of Bitcoin would be. It seemed like maybe it only would appeal to a certain set of people. I think most people that were involved in it from back then were kind of surprised at how quickly it kind of took off and like gained attention, and came up with the idea that led to Ripple. And so I started Ripple in I think 2012, something like that, 2013. And then hired David Schwartz and Arthur Brito, and then later brought on Chris Larson to be the business side of it. Usually I'm like technical side of these things and have someone else help me on the business side. And the relationship just wasn't right, and I couldn't really work with them. So left Ripple and was going to do something else completely different, but still thought that this basic idea that we had was really good and compelling, and the world really does need this universal payment network, and started Stellar.
But I do think that to create truly a global financial system, which is what we're trying to do here, blockchain technology does that in a way that the current system does not, because you don't have to think about like whether I'm here in the United States or whether I'm in Mexico. You actually just think about it as there's a corridor there that you can just make happen really quickly with the blockchain.
What I get sort of from week to week is that there is an incremental improvement, but it is very incremental improvement in the amount of sort of clarity in the space. The major problem or challenge is that even once, regulation may be provided at an incremental pace, but your innovation continues to move at hyperspeed, right? When you have that pace of innovation, the question is, well, how do you create a limber, flexible, and innovative regulatory regime to sort of keep pace?
But I have some opinions based on like modern monetary theory, to the extent it is more fully embraced, and it already largely has been, is going to drive asset valuation inflation, even more so than I think it already has. So I think gold and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are an excellent hedge against the madness of MMT. And it's not like which political party in the U.S. wins. They both seem to have embraced the craziness of unlimited government spending without taxing to pay for that spending. And so I think that cryptocurrencies are a way to hedge against that insanity.
It's mostly on the state regulators. So state-by-state regulation is required for licenses for you to be able to conduct business in each state. So we're going through those. Grateful for the people that are working on the state regulations.
So we based our company in the United States. Literally, like, we're doing this the right way, right? We filed with Reg D, we're with FinCEN as we're registered there. So our point of view is look, I was born in Texas, man. We are American and we are an American company. We're proud of that. And so we're not worried about regulations. We talk to regulators.
When do you make that decision that maybe we should go in a different path?
We were just discussing this earlier. It's a lot about intuition, and I've always believed that creating something, the word creation, is a function of creativity and intuition. It's like a huge tapestry, right? That might not make sense from the back, or the threads are kind of all over the place, but you look in the front, it's a beautiful artwork, you know, like a very nice big carpet. So I guess sometimes when you look at whether you want to change tech, look at the back of the tapestry. Think about what has happened before that had brought you to this point, and see if there are other ways for you to adapt, and look at the opportunity cost. I think that's what we've been doing so far in our business. I mean, there were so many things that have happened in the landscape, not just in our business, but also in crypto as well. And we've had to change tech many, many times.
Some of these things you can't plan for. It's the stars align, and it just happens, right? And some companies can go through their entire lives and not build a partnership like that. So I think, you know, we have to credit good fortune of, you know, having the stars aligned to meet them. But then after that, you know, as you rightly put it, Dustin, you know, we've had to earn every mile that we've gained with them. So I think a bit of both.
This is where we come in right now, because it's kind of a mind if you think about where it goes from this digital asset of Bitcoin into fiat, and how to do that in a way that's inexpensive. So I can actually get out of crypto into fiat for, like, no matter what the value is, like $1 million, $7. Okay, so there's a really inexpensive way for us to do it, and that's a really important part of the flow of funds and how do you go from these digital assets into fiat. And what we do is, because Walmart's not going to accept Bitcoin, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen, right? In my opinion, they're not going to want to deal with, they might accept Bitcoin, but then it'll instantly convert into a stable token because they're not going to take the risk.
You know, I think it's kind of start low, go slow. I mean, this is an industry, obviously, we're seeing a lot of volatility right now because of the hype and the boom of cryptocurrency. So I think our app offers the perfect thing where you can kind of start out by just, you know, micro investing.
Fantastic. Any final words you have for Cryptonaires around the world?
Yeah, I think just hodl it.
Innovation morphs, and now it seems to be going offshore quite a bit. But, you know, I don't believe that because several countries say our banks are threatened by this, that it's going to kill innovation. I mean, that's hence the title of my upcoming book, Pandora's Blocks. I think once you get the blockchain out of the box, you can jam it back in.
We are definitely moving into the next .com era, Brad, and this time around it's the crypto and the blockchain companies that are representing this next major wave of technology innovation. And what's great for us at Link2 is that these companies, many of them are getting mature enough that they're going to IPO.
Put it simply, they're waiting on the word to be handed down with a phone call. That's how simply I'm going to put it. When that call of acceptance comes down, the floodgates are going to bust open. That's what I think, because these people have been, you know, money is a language and they speak it.
That right now especially, this space is not for everyone. If you are in this space right now, I hate to use the word vanguard, but it's a good word, right? If you were in 5 years ago, I don't even have a word for that. But if you're in the space right now, you are a vanguard. You will be an influencer. You will be someone of note, right? Because the amount of people that we are about to get is going to be so overwhelming that we're going to need troops in order to service them all, right? Yeah. And so that's the fascinating part. And you know, there's the, you know, when Lamborghini or when Moon. And what we're trying to do at Litecoin has nothing to do with that. We have a fantastic product. Our goal now is to go, okay, this can be used for everything in your life. We're going to teach you how to use it. We're going to teach you how to integrate it, right? That's our mission, as opposed to buying expensive cars.
It's, you know, it's just open. There's like limitless opportunities. It's like every day there's something new happening, something new coming out. It's just endless. So it's full of opportunities, and it's the best place to be in the world right now. It's going to the moon or it's going to zero. It's a long-term binary option. So on a long enough time frame, we'll get to discover that. The main thing is, as long as we're able to scale it, as long as there's no problems, because we have hundreds of thousands of people every day learning about it, wanting to become a part of it, and it continues to grow. So long enough time frame, mate, it's going that way or it's going to zero. And if it goes to zero, it's not my biggest concern. I mean, the world banking system's f***ed, so that's how it works.
Well, I think about my own journey. About 2 years ago, I was living in Tokyo, and all of this was happening around me, and I decided that, you know, I needed to know what was going on. And so I started going to these different meetup events, and I went out and I bought some Bitcoin. And I tried to, you know, trade some Bitcoin with my friends and things like that. And so I think there's no substitute for hands-on experience. I encourage people to just, you know, dip their toe in the water, go buy some XRP. Go out there and buy some Ripple. You know, get on a cryptocurrency exchange like Kraken and try it out. The only way you really learn is by doing it.
For me, I was internationally based, so I was paying huge fees to competitive banks in order to move my money around. And so that's how I got into crypto. I was like, all right, I've chosen this global life and it's penalizing me financially. How do I optimize this? And so that's where crypto is like, this. You're telling me this thing could be operational in all of the areas that I want to be living or visiting or investing in? That's fantastic.
This is a very emerging market like the blockchain technology itself. The cryptocurrencies are just like a side product for that. It is emerging throughout the years, and this is, I think, going to be about the blockchain adoption all over the world. Like banks are already using that, right? So the biggest enemies of the blockchain adoption are already in that. So I think it's just a matter of time for the blockchain to be adopted on a large worldwide scale, much more than it is right now.
I lose a lot. I mean, I don't think, you know, my strike rate, I haven't analyzed it in a long time, but I can't imagine I'm right, you know, more than 6 or 7 times out of 10. But I've been profitable at times where I had a strike rate under 5, you know, or under 50%, where I was 4 out of 10 I was getting right, but because the 6 losses were small and one of those 4 wins was bigger, it, you know, compensates for all the losing. I mean, that's the core of trading, is let your runners run, and the minute you realize that you're wrong, unemotionally cut that trade and call it a day. Being able to lose is the key element of being a successful trader.
We have a system which is growing in acceptance, and if you deny that, then you're not out using it. And we have a system which is decreasing in volume and numbers. The supply of Bitcoin will approach 0 eventually, and the demand will be almost infinite. When people figure that out, see, no one's looking at the reality of numbers. No one's looking at, oh my God, we're losing Bitcoins. Of course we are. People are forgetting their fucking wallet IDs and their passwords and their 12-word keys. Good God, of course they're losing shit. This is the reality of Bitcoin. So if you see that reality, $1 billion seems excessively low to me.
So I've found crypto about 3 years ago now. It was late 16, early 17, I want to say. I was in a bar talking to a friend. He's like, hey, I'm investing in this thing called, you know, Ripple and Bitcoin. And I'm like, well, okay, another investment thing. It's like, yeah, you really should put some money into it. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I slowly but surely I started to learn what Bitcoin was about, what Ethereum was about, what XRP was about, what other coins were about, and XRP just stood out. And I said, you know what, this is gonna be huge. And then XRP does the run to, I think, 28 cents. And I'm smoking a cigarette at the time, and I'm just looking at my account, and I'm like, is this for real? This cannot be happening to me. I mean, to me, out of all people, this cannot be happening. I take $40,000 of just savings that I had, and I'm like, Hail Mary, let's go. Yeah, Hail Mary, just 40 grand, just Hail Mary, let's go. I'm plopping it into XRP December 9th, and I put it into XLM, awesome. And then it just kept going. It just kept going, and it hits 384, I think it is. This is Coining 203, and I just got one thing to say. What are you waiting for to become a Cryptonaire? I did it. I'm living proof of it. It can happen, and it will happen.
It's not so much like how long it takes to create technology. It's more to make sure that people can use it, and it's like intuitive and relatable. And technology doesn't just get adopted like because you made it. You have to make it easy for people, and you have to meet them where they are. You have to make sure that it works for them. So we're experimenting with different use cases. Like I mentioned, tipping is one of them, to figure out what can really catch on, because I don't think it's a technological issue as much as it's an adoption issue. It has to be something that people find relatable.
I think if blockchain technology, if we can prove out the methodology behind it and demonstrate that it's not, a lot of the challenge with it is that there's this darkness that hangs over it on some level, just because of the history and because of where blockchain was trying to fight the whole system and not really participate in the financial system at the outset, looking to decentralize because didn't feel like there was trust in a centralized system, which frankly I think is a really great way to be able to think about how networks should work. And so I think that if you look at all of the good things that blockchain technology can do, and you strip away that darkness, you can actually really change the world.
Let's talk about back when you were at Transforms with the ICO situation was unfolding. What was that like at that time?
It was crazy. It was really fun in a way, but we knew it was a bubble at the time, but it was an interesting way to see how you could take blockchain and put it in a bunch of different industries, and how by cutting out the middleman you can empower other people. I mean, a lot of them are not around right now, but I think it still helped show how this technology can empower people and kind of limit the hold corporations have on us, either in rideshare stuff or Amazon, companies that are taking 30% when they're not really doing anything.
Like with anything, where if you don't have proper controls in place and regulation, or a belief that the space should be regulated, I think there's really, you've touched on there's a big dichotomy, I think, in the crypto world I've encountered, that the true believers think that there shouldn't be any regulation and this should be anarchy, and this is a good way to get away from government in general. But at the end of the day, crypto assets are assets. These are regulated. Like, it already exists in the current framework. So you can ignore the current framework, and then all of the sort of things that the framework is there to protect people from don't get addressed. I think our approach, and the reason I really wanted to work at Bittrex and enjoy working at Bittrex, that's just part of our gene code. And that's also why we came to Liechtenstein. They actually passed a blockchain act.
Perspective on it. Let's talk first about digital currencies, and let's talk about crypto stuff. Digital currencies today, roughly 92% of all currencies in the world is digitized.
You're talking about fiat versus crypto?
Just currency.
All right, so break them up though. So look, I totally believe in digital fiat.
Yeah,
so digital dollars, digital yen, digital euros. I don't. Those aren't crypto to me. That's right. That's digital fiat. So I just want everyone to understand.
Yeah.
That we're probably in more agreement.
No, it's not agreement. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm sort of dividing these two things apart, just like you just did. So the first thing you have to understand is that moving to a digital currency is a very straightforward thing to do. People call them, and the two things can interact, of course. Some people call them stable coins, some people call them, the Chinese are working on their own. Taking that thing on paper and turning it into a digitized thing is a very straightforward thing to do, and today, the vast majority of money in the world is already digital because it's just electronic entries in banks and central banks. So the notion that it's some big revolutionary thing, well, I can take 8%. By the way, Ken Rogoff's book, The End of Cash, says the 80 to 90% of U.S. $100 bills are used in organized crime and tax evasion. So the thing that's most useful to the bad guys is cash. It's the ultimate sort of anonymized security. But anyway, so that's a straightforward, easy thing to do. It should be done, and we just got to get there.
Agreed.
Right. That's easy.
Amen.
Now, if you talk about the whole crypto kind of world. I got to this from the kind of the payments thing because I've been looking for a way in which we could take the cost of payments down by 99%, the way we've taken out the cost of trading and securities. In the payments world, we use the term, we oftentimes use the term of the payments rails. There's the credit card rails, there's checking rails, there's the FedWire rails. So let's to understand how I think to think about the cryptocurrency world is there are three parts of it: the blockchain, the token, and the protocol. And the three of them operate together to create one solution, one integrated solution that has the capacity to revolutionize the way we move things of value around the world. Let me use a railroad analogy to make the point. The token is the equivalent of the boxcar. It's the thing into which you embed something of digital value that needs to be moved from one place to another, from one part of a blockchain to another. The blockchain is the cargo invoice, is the invoice in the cargo manifest. And the rails is the protocol. And you have to think about all three as one integrated solution that enables you to accomplish the purpose of moving anything of value around the world at the speed of light at no cost, the way we talk about email today.
Amazing to see the rate at which this industry has developed. I've been, again, in digital currency since the late 90s, so watching everything I thought could happen actually happen and exceeding, called it my wildest expectations, has been exhilarating. It's been a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, especially if you understand kind of the philosophy of what this industry is about, why we do it. You know, we are those that get it, a group of people that believe in building a better world. You know, we sit in a period of time very similar to like 1776. You know, this is very similar to the moment when our founding fathers started this nation, and thinking about the big questions, you know, the questions that have challenged us for thousands of years. You know, for millenniums, we've been trying to understand how to govern ourselves. You know, how do we create a world in which we all want to live? And it's been a challenge. You know, we've gotten it wrong every time. And this technology is providing us with new tools to do things differently than we've done before. And so the opportunity here is truly transformative. You know, this is an opportunity to metamorphosize everything that we understand through bringing radical transparency to the world, bringing immutable systems, you know, record keeping, timekeeping, records that can't be modified or changed by anyone. You know, it's an exciting thing to watch, and you know, I'm a big believer in the potential of this technology and the positive impact it can bring to society.
No, the technology for cryptocurrencies can never be stopped. As the markets are thoroughly regulated, the sustainable companies and coins will get even stronger.
I come from an institutional background working at Morgan Stanley, so I was always kind of groomed in a way where compliance and regulation was a first for everything. So for me coming into the United States, I said, you know, I immediately wanted us to have an office in Washington, D.C. So we've got our team out there on our regulatory and legal side, and they're, you know, building those relationships, being able to get them familiar with our business plan, what we're planning to do inside the United States, what we've been able to kind of bring into our platform and where we see us going. So it's really just about communicating clearly what we're up to and how we can be able to navigate in their regulatory environment.
Also through the fact that Liechtenstein is so small, people are really used to essentially go to other countries and use different currencies all the time. So I think this was very beneficial for us as a cryptocurrency blockchain project to yeah, settle here and find an environment which is very supportive and also attracts, or already attracted, many more companies to join us here in Liechtenstein.
And I think that investors don't really think about these issues. In fact, they seem to be drawn to the more rogue the exchange and the more that they tweet that they hate regulators. But if you were putting your money in a bank, would you rather put your money in a bank in AAA rated Switzerland or Liechtenstein with a regulator, or would you rather put your bank in the Seychelles where there's a bunch of guys and you don't know where their office is and they tweet about how horrible regulators are? I think I know where I would put my money.
People talk about either more regulation or less regulation or whatever. And there's not always an appreciation that at this point in time, just like market participants, regulators are just trying to figure out what exactly they're dealing with. The way in which we go about and think through what is a security and what is not a security, because of our Supreme Court and its very famous Howey test, it's an ad hoc test. In other words, so there's no bright line that says this is a security, this is not a security. Instead, it's a facts and circumstances based inquiry where anybody who creates a digital asset has to really decide for him or herself, do I think this is a security based on the Howey test? Then they can release that into the wild, if one will, after if they evaluate or make the determination that it's not a security. But the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, can always say, well, you got that wrong. It actually is a security, even though you think that it's not a security.
Tell us your name. My name is Thomas Nägele. I'm an attorney from Liechtenstein, a very small country in Europe. And what exactly do you do? Besides being a lawyer, which is anyway a lot of work, I'm president of the Crypto Country Association. I teach at the University of Liechtenstein and some other universities, and like my daily work is 100% blockchain crypto related. And there's a bill or an act that recently passed, and it starts in January. Talk about that. Yes, that's quite exciting, I think. It's the first ever really comprehensive piece of legislation, which is actually the framework for the tokenization of assets. And what is actually different from a lot of other pieces of legislation you see already out there is that we analyzed the complete legal framework, thought through a lot of business cases, and actually amended our complete legal framework to make tokenization legally binding, like to have the proper legal framework to do that. And we think that it's really huge.
Innovation going on in financial modeling right now that the blockchain and tokenization is making possible. So Bitcoin was largely about decentralization more than tokenization. Security tokens are more about tokenization. And they're both important parts of the blockchain.
You make bad decisions when you have that fear of missing out. And so instead of FOMO, I encourage people to sign up for JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. You know, as long as you're making informed decisions for yourself, it's very difficult for bad things to happen. And so in a world where there's a lot of asymmetries of information, take the time to be informed. You haven't missed anything. This transformation that's occurring is still in its infancy. I mean, 1999, year 2000, the internet, the aggregate price of all of the stocks was 6.7 trillion. And that was before inflation. And that was when it was primarily just a Western phenomenon. The overall crypto market cap today is 200–300 billion, which means we haven't even seen the beginning of anything yet. I mean, I could argue with inflation and other things that the internet in 1999 was at 50 trillion or 100 trillion, meaning we're at about 2 or 3% of what the internet was at in its beginning.
Well, like everything, it starts with an idea. The idea was, right, okay, we want to create a cryptocurrency that solves problems, has real utility. Because 99% of the market, there is no real use case, there is no real utility. Yes, it's a highly speculative market still, and we're still joining dots, but these things don't change overnight. I can't remember who said it, but someone said it. I think it might have been someone from Love for Crypto or some other fantastic YouTube channel. That basically it's like a vehicle moving down the highway and it's trying to change the engine over in that moving vehicle while it's moving. It's never going to happen. You need to do it in stages, and obviously the APIs and everything like that is going to be the first stage of changing the existing legacy systems. And it's a way they can do it without basically ripping out the engine and starting again. They're almost putting a turbocharger into the existing legacy system. And this turbocharger's coming. And we're seeing all the time, all the, let's say, dots we've joined over the last couple of years are now starting to come to fruition. And we're like, fucking hell, yeah. We saw this a year ago, 1 year ago. And I'm like, I see the news, I'm like, oh my God, we called this a year ago, or Kimesy called this a year ago, or Love for Crypto called this 3 years ago. All these great people within our community are calling these things way ahead of their times, and we're not there yet. We're not at the finish line. We're out the blocks. We've just got out of sprint position, and we're starting to sprint down the runway. We've still got a considerable length of time to go, but I do feel that we're starting to gain traction.
This is where Wall Street, global capital markets begins to become a real user of these technologies. These technologies are going to enable a tremendous transformation in how high finance is conducted. Everything from stock issuance, bond issuance, and derivatives trading. I think that it's going to enable the entire system to free up a lot of capital that's inefficiently used today, and it's going to enable the world to deploy capital much more efficiently and faster, and that's going to enable all kind of great new things. More spaceships, more vacations for everybody, just a better world all around.
Well, let's take it from our experience as well. At this point last year, we were in San Francisco as well for the first time, and again, it was very much an informational type of environment. But now we've gone through the process of actually implementing XRP through Xcurrent to start with, and the on-demand liquidity as well. We were the first commercial authorized bank in order to have the ODL actually in place. So from that point of view, we were fastest and the first. And we're a small institution. And I really think that it's not, you shouldn't think of it as a technological problem to do the implementation. Things are getting much easier from a web-based system. It's much easier to integrate with that, and much easier in this environment to find players here, all of whom are willing to help you do it as well.
I believe that because larger players have gotten into the space, it's become more interesting to them. I think that what Facebook and what Libra has brought to the discussion has been monumental for us to be able to talk about this in a mainstream audience, which is, I think that having the full stack is problematic for Libra, but I also think that we've been able to have discussions with regulators who are now interested in it because they see, oh, there's momentum here. And so I think it's brought a lot of real goodness to the discussions around what we can and should be doing with blockchain and the networks generally.
The custodians that we've seen enter the space, I think it was like when I first started around 2017, that was the big hurdle for institutions aren't coming until we have custody solutions. And then fast forward to now, and we've got like 100 institutional custody solutions. So I'm waiting for the next excuse of why there's not more entrants, but I'm excited by the innovation that we've seen and kind of the really substantial players coming into that space there.
The world is going to change in finance when we connect the private blockchains via the Bitcoin or Ethereum or other protocol to the other blockchains in the world. Have a global blockchain that's the World Wide Web of blockchains that will fundamentally change the way in which not only do we move value around the world at the speed of light, but also in which we actually fundamentally change the way in which we compute, because it's the fourth computing paradigm I've experienced in my lifetime, the decentralized computing paradigm.
Listen very carefully to what these two gentlemen go on to say about where they are and what they're doing in this space.
The blockchains, as those get deployed. But that's not the end point, that's just a first step. And go into all that stuff at greater length if you'd like me to, but that's a beginning.
No, look, it's transformative. I want to go back to something we talked about around monetary policy, which is if this happens, which I think I say if, I think you're saying when. I get it.
You have a little bit more to do with the if than we do, I'm just kidding.
No, and look, Jay, my view is it's happening.
Yeah.
What is the U.S.'s role?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what.
Yeah. I'm gonna go further because
do my right hand. Yes, you're right.
Because we're both involved in companies that are doing it. We'd like to do it here.
I think that yes, I think there needs to be definitely regulatory oversight, and I think any of the big players in the space are obviously welcoming that because it legitimizes the space. And then I do think it needs to be a qualified custodian, and I think it needs to be just like any other security, treated as such.
We have been approached by a lot of people who we've tried to educate over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years, about what the digital asset class is. I think number one, first and foremost, people have come to the realization that Bitcoin is digital gold. So now they're asking, well, how do I get involved in digital gold? How do I get involved in Bitcoin? And they learn how to trade it. And they're like, well, I'm not so comfortable moving coin from exchange to my wallet, and they don't want to lose it. So then they ask, well, is there a fund that I can invest in? And then there's different types of funds. Galaxy actually has created a Bitcoin fund, which is a very simple fund, lower cost fees relative to some of the other products. It tracks the Bloomberg Bitcoin Index. And it also is custody. We have our custody solution is Fidelity. So, I know you've had conversations with some of the people here talking about custody solutions on the institutional level. And there's simplicity and there's beauty in simplicity. And when you think about how straightforward this fund is, this is what people have been asking for on the institutional level. And most importantly, this institutional level share class of the Bitcoin fund provides weekly liquidity. So there's not going to be an ETF approved anytime soon, or at least we'll see. And this provides better liquidity than some of the other products that are out there.
I get asked the question a lot, institutional money, when it's coming in, it's going to be a game changer. And I'm not the expert when it comes to how the institutions work, but I always just go back to the dollar amount. Yeah, that's where the money is, but guess where else the money is? Retail investors, the average investor in the United States, the majority of their investable dollars are in their retirement accounts. And prior to iTrust, it was very, very difficult and or very expensive to get any of that retirement money, that IRA money, that 401k money into this digital space. But now that with what we've built and the on-ramp, it's easy, it's low cost. We just opened up the floodgates for the $9 trillion IRA market. $9 trillion already sits in existing IRAs in the United States, with another $8 trillion in 401ks and other employer plans.
Personal opinion is that the reason the US look like they're lagging, they're not lagging. They're not lagging whatsoever. They know what's coming, yeah? They're part of it as much as any other country. The problem we have is that the system has a lot of building. There's a lot of partnerships and acquisitions that have needed to be had to make sure that it's ready. And I think they're holding the system up because they aren't done with the integration and everything like that. I think Ripple have been ready for years in terms of having their systems that are working, fully functioning. And they're tweaking it as they go because they're having teething problems with certain things, which you're going to have with any new system, right? But I think we talk about like the train tracks. They're laying this new global system worldwide, and I think they haven't finished laying their train tracks. And I think the US are purposely holding it up because the system isn't ready to go.
Doesn't it put a time crunch that this is a global movement? There's countries like Japan and UK, the FCA, China, Malta. Yeah, China. I mean, the catalyst of Facebook's Libra coin really spurred the central banks, and I'd liken that to the early days of like Napster in the music industry. And they realize if they don't get into this tech early, they'll miss it because this tech is not waiting for anybody.
Right. I think that the governments know that this technology, at the very minimum, is here to stay, and that the power of the technology is not that it's only going to disrupt markets, but it's also going to disrupt governments. That's right. And this can either this can have lots of different sort of knock-on effects. A lot of people say, well, when that happens, governments want to shut it down. Well, possibly. They may want to shut it down. They may want to regulate it, or they may want to create their own, right? So in the case of China and Libra, it spurs this attempt to create a Chinese, or the People's Bank of China wanted to launch their own central bank digital currency, right? So, if you can't beat them, create your own. And then also lever the power and the authority of the state, some would say in this particular instance, in ways to enhance its own surveillance capacity over its domestic population. But leaving those national security issues aside, central banks around the world are like, okay, we don't want to be made into the dinosaurs of the financial system. So, and we're not going to necessarily wipe out these new markets out of existence, so we better up our game, and we better upgrade our own legacy financial infrastructures. And that's all part of this big new regulatory dance as well.
When Franklin Templeton announced they filed an SEC, made the SEC filing indicating that they were building a money market fund on top of Stellar, we learned about it through a Google alert, just like everyone else did at the same time. Like, it wasn't something that they had come to us and said, hey, we want to do this, and they had to work with us. Part of really working in the open, and also part of really creating a network that actually happens and grows without you, is being able to have those things happen. And so it's not just Franklin Templeton, there are other organizations who build pretty interesting projects. The way I think about Stellar is you think about Stellar as the web. If you just think about a window, it's the web that's connected to all the different places on the window, and those connection points are the anchors. So the anchors hold the web together so that you can have the on-ramps and the off-ramps. And so those are existing financial institutions, whether they be banks or money transfer organizations or whatever, money transfer operators. But I think that it actually works with the existing system very well.
Since we're dealing with customers worldwide, we often have a problem, or they have a problem, in getting hold of fiat currency. It's hard currency. So they're able to pay in local currency, they're able to receive local currency. And the problem is actually transferring into an international currency, then to pay away, which is the standard currency of trade. So we have countries which are, for example, finding access to funds very difficult, very costly, and what we're able to do with Ripple is find a way of using cryptocurrency so that they are paying away in a local currency, transferring that into crypto at the other end of the transaction in a country which maybe has a problem getting dollars as well, to then switch from the crypto into their local currency as well. So to make the whole of the transfer very simple, frictionless, and at the end of the day make it very easy without having to switch into an expensive alternative currency. And here also we're looking at the liquidity side of the whole transaction to make sure that everything is taken forward extremely fast in a guaranteed way, and also with no fluctuation in the value of the rate.
It needs a clear regulatory framework in order to have certainty when it comes to the issuances or the issuance of digital assets, but also when it comes to giving investors access to those assets. And I believe BankFric has taken a huge role in that. Not only have they made it possible for blockchain-based companies to get access to banking services. Yeah, they've been very progressive in that sense, allowing for that space actually to really grow, and also for a lot of the Swiss-based companies. Obviously, when you look over to Crypto Valley in the direction behind me, when you look over to the mountains there. So yeah, I feel BankFric has taken a huge role in that, and are a huge driver also for us as the operator of Area to Invest as a platform.
My daily work is 100% blockchain crypto related.
And there's a bill or an act that recently passed, and it starts in January. Talk about that.
Yes, that's quite exciting, I think. It's the first ever really comprehensive piece of legislation, which is actually the framework for the tokenization of assets. And what is actually different from a lot of other pieces of legislation you see already out there is that we analyzed the complete legal framework, thought through a lot of business cases, and actually amended our complete legal framework to make tokenization legally binding, like to have the proper legal framework to do that. And we think that it's really huge, and we're really looking forward to have it enacted in 1st of January.
Forbes interviewed us several times. One time was for Liechtenstein specifically. For a while I thought Liechtenstein would be the main thing about eternity, or journalists always wanted to know only about Liechtenstein, not about our technology, which was a bit, yeah, making me sad, or like they're not getting it. But I think now everybody kind of knows that Liechtenstein is a established location for setting up a crypto business, and I hope that in the future now we will be able to focus more on our actual product, and that our actual product, like the blockchain, the software, will be used also to tokenize things under the new Blockchain Act, which will be coming out on the 1st of January here in Liechtenstein.
Payments really hasn't adapted to the way the internet works. You know, it works very pre-internet, right? There's all these different payment networks. You know, there's things like ACH or SEPA or like M-Pesa, this mobile money thing, and different things like these different payment networks in different currencies, and none of them interoperate, right? There's no seamless protocol between all of them. And the idea behind Stellar is to create that protocol, right? To make it where it doesn't matter if you're at a bank and you're holding one currency and you want to send value to somebody that's using a mobile money thing and they want to hold another currency. All of these things should just be, essentially frictionless, like as instant as possible and nearly free, right? So the idea behind Stellar is to build that internet level protocol for payments.
So let me ask you, how does all this fit with the lack of regulatory clarity that we see today?
Well, see, you have to be, that's an interesting question because we don't see it defined per se, but we've been listening to the guidance of guidelines from the regulatory bodies.
Sure.
And if anybody thinks that they're not going to be if anybody thinks they're going to be different from what they are right now in current institutional markets, I think they better do some more work there because the rules are going to rhyme very much so with what we know in the commodities market, in the equity market, in the fixed income market. So we're very in tune with that. And again, that's part of bridging the institutional world with the technology world, and finding best practices there, especially when it comes to the regulatory component.
Part of the problem that the crypto space has is a lack of data standards and data interchange standards. So as a result, you want to get your transaction records. Each exchange has a different format. The APIs are not stable. The CSV files are not really reliable. One company will list a buy and a sell. Another company will do it as a buy-sell pair. And there's no standards. Now there are some data standards that are starting to come to bear from the Financial Action Task Force, requiring each country to require their exchanges to use what's called the travel rule, which transfers identity information when a coin is shipped from one institution to another. So now we're starting to get the beginnings of data standards being forced in, but it needs to happen much more extensively because without data standards, it's really, really difficult to calculate gains.
It's going to start to look a lot similar to that of some of the more traditional institutional markets. I think the security token market and asset-backed token market will start to develop more and more. I think that you're also going to get more institutional money coming in, investing in publicly traded companies that maybe have gone IPO recently because those hardware, software type companies are becoming more mature within the space. The people that are providing the picks and access to the industry, to the infrastructure, those will become available for institutional level investors to get into. By the way, if institutional capital is flowing into that part of the market, that filters back into the ecosystem. So there's a lot of different ways that things can evolve, and I think that those are two areas that are going to be a big focus.
Today we have over 25 XRP-based trading pairs. If you look at our testnet, we have over 200 new coins already implemented on our testnet. These coins, eventually, we are going to put them on our production net, and they're going to be listed on CoinField platform. So I would say within next 6 months or 12 months, we are going to see 200 new coins are being added on CoinField, and obviously the majority of these coins are going to be paired with XRP directly. The reason that we selected XRP again is because we need to offer a fast liquidity movement for our clients. So let's say we have users on one of other exchange outside of CoinField. They want to move liquidity into their CoinField wallet and convert to other assets. So XRP is the best option for that. They can quickly move the assets in a matter of seconds, and they save time, and they make sure that they're not going to lose the opportunity. The crypto market, how crypto market is, time is playing an important role. So you want to make sure that if you are trading, you trade on time and you don't lose time and opportunity.
I wanted to ask a question about globalization. If you could talk about the idea of the old concept of the anchor coin and a neutral asset being in place of a global reserve status of the dollar, and possibly that being XRP.
What you're asking for is whether there's a possibility of a global currency, and to some extent that's what Libra was trying to do. And as I understand it, that's different from what XRP is trying to do. And the reason is as follows. As soon as you go to maintaining the value, right, some kind of stable coin, a whole set of regulatory concerns get triggered. I have to make sure that there is corresponding financial or real assets backing this notional value that they seek to maintain.
Pure spec at this moment, although we will eventually, in my opinion, start to see some real-world utility creep into the market within the next, well, definitely next decade, the 2020s. I have a feeling we're going to see something really, really interesting.
Crypto has taken huge steps into becoming a legitimate marketplace, and that's where we are today. We're poised on it becoming something that all mainstream institutions allocate capital towards. There's been recent news about the OCC allowing banks for the very first time to custody digital assets. You've got long-standing institutions like Fidelity, one of our oldest brokers and asset management houses in this country, going into digital asset custody. So all of this is getting the attention of institutional investors. It's not just a retail guy anymore in crypto, and it's a big signal of the direction that we're all going.
Now, what can we all do? So everybody in here, you're all here for crypto, right? You all believe in blockchain. Well, start telling people about it, right?
I'd rather be Norman and Philo than be Alexander the Great or any of these people whose name is revered, because it's not about the person and my personal journey. That's my journey. I own that. You know, it's about the things I do for others, and it's about the things we build and leave behind. The great part about cryptocurrencies is they don't need their founders. Satoshi's gone, Bitcoin's fine. And one day I'll be gone, Cardano will be fine, and Vitalik will be gone, and Ethereum will be fine, and so forth. We really do our job well. These things have durability and resilience, and more importantly, evolutionary capability. They grow, they change, they evolve, they become something different than what we intended them to be.
I mean, like I said before, I think it's about owning, controlling your own money. And I think that's a very important thing to have, which is freedom of your own money. So cryptocurrency helps with that. I think it's still kind of complicated today, but things will get easier over time. And I like to see a future where people actually don't have to think about it, and it will just work. All that matters is you hold on to your money and you can spend it on stuff.
Look at the charts. Where did we come from? And you see incremental growth. The data doesn't lie. And even though there's a lot of volatility, you look at it from a macro perspective, you see that incremental growth across the board. And like I said, the volatility is there. So if you're looking at a weekly and monthly, yeah, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, right? It's like a roller coaster ride. But it's been growing. As long as there's nothing detrimental to the market where, you know, the US government's outright taking your computer out of your house or your Ledger Nano, whatever it is, right? Then it's here to stay. And when we start seeing the government is backing it and the big money is getting in, man, that's all I need to know. And it's just a patience game from there, having that perspective.
Things like Bitcoin Cash and other cryptocurrencies enable every single human being on the planet to interact financially with every single other human being on the planet. And that enables more economic freedom around the world for everybody. And more economic freedom leads to more economic growth. And more economic growth leads to more spaceships and amazing computers and more medical technologies and longer lifespans and just a better, happier world for everybody involved, including myself. So that's what motivates me each day to be involved in this space. And I thank you for being interested in it too. And tell a friend.
You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. We've been told that it's the mother of all scams, a fraud. We've been told that we're investing in a Ponzi scheme. We've been told it's a shitcoin. We've been told that we were shills. We've been told that we were cesspool dwellers. We've been told that we were low-life losers and that we were scammers. We've been told all of these things by the traditional financial media and traditional figures in traditional finance. We've been told this by everybody from Warren Buffett to Nouriel Roubini. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. It's the first new asset class since the year 1696. My gut is now screaming at me, and so I smell something. I smell the money is what I smell. Every fiber of my being knows how digital assets solve the problem that the governments of the world have created. It's all happening right before our eyes. The only question for you is, do you have what it takes to make a move and stick with it through the volatility? And that's the question. If you can't deal with the 90% losses, then you don't deserve to experience the thousands of percent gains. Just being here, you have the opportunity of 2 or 3 lifetimes. I say this all the time. The world's changing right in front of your face. A revolution is coming. Politicians and governments and central banks have put the world in a debt situation that cannot be gotten out of. It cannot. You're watching the creation of an entirely new digital asset market. If you don't understand anything else, you need to understand and print this in your mind. That's what cryptocurrencies really represent, is the threat to the United States of losing their reserve currency status. Crypto is going to change the world.
Yeah, shout out to my crypto fam. All across the land, brothers and sisters, worked all my life. Crypto performance. CPC, BTC, ETH, XRP, BCH, XLM, BSV, ADA. We got them all, baby. Check it out. Always dreamed to be a billionaire. Everywhere I go, people would stop and stare. Zero to hero, going to the top. Papa tops, Bentleys, mansions, looking fly. I'm gonna be a cryptonaire. Everywhere I go, people will stop and stare. Now I ask you, could this be your time? Do you wanna be a cryptonaire for the rest of your life? Cryptonaires. We'll buy the dip, take a little trip. Sell at the top. Got cinnamon in my coffee, yeah, it's hot. Life is tough, but you can be tougher. Oh, walk with me, oh my brother. Do you wanna be a cryptonaire? Do you wanna be a cryptonaire? So I'm calling out to my crypto fam, brothers and sisters across the land. Accumulate and hold that digital gold. CPC, change your life, or so I've been told. I wanna be a cryptonaire. Everywhere I go, people will stop and stare. Now I ask you, could this be your time? Do you wanna be a cryptonaire for the rest of your life? Cryptonaires. Do you wanna be a cryptonaire? Do you wanna be the greatest cryptonaires? Do you wanna be a cryptonaire? Do you wanna be cryptonaires? Cryptonaires. Do you wanna be a cryptonaire? Do you wanna be cryptonaires? Cryptonaires. Do you wanna be cryptonaires? CPC in the house. My time, my fam, that's my plan. Do you wanna be cryptonaires? Cryptonaires.
I had a couple friends who were really interested in it, and they started talking to me, and I saw the use cases, and I saw how it made sense, and I started buying as much as I could.
Very nice. Yeah. Okay, so how long has it, and what year did you get into crypto?
2017.
2017.
Right before the run-up. So
wow.
I got to watch that. I got to watch both the run-up and the crash. It's fun.
Nice. It is fun.
Because I'm starting to actually get recognized more and more. Like I was flying over here from Colorado, the pilot came out of the cabin and into the first class cabin, and out of the cockpit into the first class cabin, and he walked right up to me and he said, "Hey, thank you so much for being global service," and he handed me a card. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool little perk," but then I looked at it and it said on the card, ADA #1. And I realized he was a Cardano fan, and I asked him, "Do you know about Cardano?" He's like, "Of course I know who you are." I was like, "This is just a pilot. You never, while flying on a plane, have the pilot come out and say hello to you or something like that." I was checking in Vancouver, flying to Colorado, and Air Canada, and I was getting this really weird vibe from the guy checking me in. And after he took my bag, he kind of leaned over to me and said, "I love ADA." And I was just like, "Oh God, it's Fight Club. You know, we're going down this. I've become Tyler Durden. This is crazy." So it's a strange experience.
This beautiful man named Max Kaiser. So that was in 2011. He was, telling us how the financial institutions, the central banks, big corporations had imploded our country and our fiat supply, and we're doomed. But there's this thing called Bitcoin that could save the day and keep this from ever happening again. And I've always had a lot of respect for Max, so I looked into it and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty freaking cool. So I started buying into it, and I don't know, probably around 2017, everybody started getting into it. But they already knew that I was in it, like my close friends and family. So that's when everybody started hitting me up and asking me tons of questions. And so I created a couple of videos for them at their request. 1,000 videos later, here we are. And, Monarch and Crypto Beatles, and TV shows, and all kinds of other stuff.
But you go from living in a town in China that most people have never heard of outside of the out of the country to now one of the biggest names in the world.
Exactly.
Quite a change.
That's also like magic of crypto. I remember in 2017 when we first doing our ICO, I heard like a farmer from like South Africa. He sent me like an email, said like I invest in Tron, so I find it on the internet, so I believe it. So I invest in Tron. So it's this the moment of like the magic moment of crypto. It had to be. Yeah, because I mean, in the past it's impossible for like a South African farmer invest like into like a founder originally come from China, you know, that's impossible. I mean, those people, I mean, in the past that they won't like even have like any kind of the connection, right? So that's why I feel at that moment when I received the email, I feel like the crypto is really something.
Now this puts the SEC in a really interesting spot because they're operating on the one hand against the backdrop of Supreme Court law, constitutional law, that's basically said things have to be, there's this ad hoc test for determining whether or not any particular financial product is a security or not a security. So what the SEC has tried to do is to provide more explicit guideposts that are applicable to the digital asset industry to say, look, if you do certain kinds of things, if there are certain kinds of characteristics or features associated with this digital asset, it's more likely to be a security. So think of it as almost gap filling for constitutional law. The problem, or one of the challenges has been, and one of the criticisms has been, that the list of things that could push a financial product or digital asset into the securities law ledger, excuse the pun, or off it into the commodities law land is really extensive and very long. And there's not necessarily any indication as to, well, on this sort of laundry list of different features, is one more important than the other? It's just a list. And so that has been criticized as a kind of source of more uncertainty, and that the stopgap measures for some, you know, are creating more uncertainty or confusion than they would have created perhaps without that particular laundry list.
So we're here on Cryptonaires, and we have a very dear friend of mine who I've just gotten to meet, Bitcoin Ben. Thank you for being here, Ben.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. This is the energy, the environment, the community, you guys being here, everything you all have going on is just amazing. And I did, especially this good looking guy over here. I mean, hell,
bring it in. Yeah.
Why use crypto over a credit card? Well, this app's giving me 7% cash back to do it. Now that's a real incentive to do it. So I feel like when all these things come together, that's when we're going to see a snowboard effect of adoption.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Crypto Campfire Podcast. This is the Professor.
And Mitch.
And we're here at the Litecoin Summit, and we are recording for the Cryptonaires documentary. This is cool, man.
This is so
seriously
freaking cool,
like,
dude.
Vegas,
Litecoin
2 weeks
Summit,
after LA.
2 weeks after LA.
The whole family's
the CIS
here.
Summit.
It's crazy, guys. This is cool.
The people, the energy, the vibe, running into these guys, doing this documentary and bringing all this energy to the people is just off the freaking hook, man.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We've got the seed cards going out left and right, filling up that Change Angel map.
Oh, Ron Paul was awesome for speaking. I mean, that was a hell of a speech from him.
And I've done 25 years of radio and television off and on, and started realizing there wasn't the credible messages in crypto that I felt that we needed to get gray-haired old guys to go and take money and invest in it. Ended up meeting Brent. Probably
I was the only credible person he knew, so yeah, that's how we got together.
The incredible person, yes, yes, yeah. And so I went and decided, let's go and take all this experience and that I had over many years, and let's do a regular radio and television show.
A lot of people would probably be interested in getting into Bitcoin to get their money out. If they're, you know, they're already in a political crisis, once that hits a financial crisis, people are definitely going to want to be able to use their Bitcoin to get out into a safe haven. And this is not money laundering. This is people who legitimately have earned their money that wants to get it out to anywhere in the world. Digital currency. So if you see, what it gives you is the freedom to really protect your money. And it's, you know, it's the gold standard for crypto.
Felt like after the last bull run, so after 2017, what we saw was the important agencies started to kind of really pay attention. They started to pay attention. They weren't really, 100% on board yet, but they were realizing too many people were making money off this thing called Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and they needed to find a way to kind of rein it in. So, no more Wild West. And so I think that 2018, we started to see some of that. And then by 2019, I think that right now we're really kind of in that transformative year where we're seeing, Ripple doing amazing things, announcing all kinds of great news, the new partnerships they have, the 300 plus banks, at least at the moment of this recording that they have. And, it's still kind of in baby step phase, but we are really, at this point, it is ramping up slowly. But I think, again, I think in the next few years, we're really going to start to see some movement. And I think when it moves, it will move fast. I think that a lot of us will be caught off guard.
So we've got Dustin and Brad here. You guys are doing the thing, calling it Cryptonaires, which is like millionaires. Started here filming for this movie. From here, you go to Singapore, you're going all over the planet. And then, and you're going to go and capture kind of the essence of what is going on in this movement, right? Tell us a little bit more about it.
All right, so what really started as this idea between my partner Brad Times and I was, could we pull the community together? Could we bring in the maximalists? Could we make this thing be, all the tribes become one family, starting with the YouTubers, starting with the crypto Twitter influencers, and then the influencers like Charles Hoskinson, Roger Dare, our sponsor and partner for the film, and it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny, hey, John, watching these guys out here, they're running around kind of like we are. Well, actually, they're running around, but we're actually set up in a stationary place, as you can imagine. And these guys are out and they're pulling everybody in, and everybody wants to be part of this because, as you can imagine, in this emerging evolution we always talk about, documenting this and capturing the early days of this, if we don't do it, guys like you doing what you're doing, if we don't capture it, we're going to lose it, right? So then people are in the rears going to go back and say, hey, what happened in those early days? And we'll be able to go to a resource like y'all's and say, hey, this is kind of where it all began, right?
You really just hit the nail on the head for us. That's exactly what this is about. We're trying to capture the convergence of the space going through a transformation. We're going from the Wild West.
Yes.
And we're moving into a really new space, which is going to be legitimized by Wall Street and governments all around the world. This is really a special time. If you're not aware of what crypto is, we highly encourage you to do your research. Check out this space because we are meeting with the highest level officials to everyday general people on the street, and we're giving the contrast of where this space is going and trying to base that off of what people know or may not know about crypto, and it's just an exciting time.
This is David Schwartz, CTO at Ripple now. I'm one of the original architects of the XRP ledgers. Giving a shout out to my fellow Cryptonaires. I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and it's changed a lot, and I think great things are coming.
Hello Cryptonaires, I'm Giuseppe, co-founder of Crypto Performance, a buy and hold crypto platform. While our platform lists many coins and tokens, our ecosystem is powered by our native token, the CPC coin. For more information on the token, please visit our website cryptoperformance.io. We hope you enjoyed the film. Thank you for watching Cryptonaires. Alla prossima. See you next time.